Growing up in Pennsylvania, born in 1931, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. We were poor. My mother and dad both had to work because there was 5 of us, 5 brothers. But everything was good. I mean, as far as being born in the 30s.
How did you and your siblings get along?
Great. Still do. Well, no, they're all gone. I'm sorry. My 4 brothers are gone. My mother and dad are gone. We were pretty close-knit, and we had to be on our own a lot because Mom and Dad both worked. And that was clear up into after the war was over.
When did you first hear about Korea? Like, what were your feelings?
In the 1950s, when it actually started.
The Big Picture is a report to you from your Army, an Army committed by you, the people of the United States, to stop communist aggression wherever it may strike. The Big Picture, during the next 13 weeks, will trace the course of events in the Korean campaign, with first-hand reports from our combat veterans and film taken by combat cameramen of the Army Signal Corps. These are the men who daily record on film the big picture as it happens, where it happens. Today, the Big Picture brings into focus the first 40 days in Korea. It was the beginning of the fighting there, when every ridge was a heartbreak ridge. Let's go back to June 1950, when our troops felt the first thrusts across the 38th parallel. The story is best told in the language of the soldier who was there.
This story is hard to tell, painful, because our outfit was in training a few weeks ago. Some of the boys who were with us aren't around anymore.
I enlisted and we went to Lackland Air Force Base for our training, San Antonio, Texas. The overseas really made a man out of me. Well, the marching was the worst because the Air Force boot camp it was 8 weeks. And we had a rifle range, we had to do all the calisthenics that you can think of. And then we had to go through a gas chamber. Basic training wasn't really that rough after the first 4 weeks. Up at 5, in bed by 8:39, in old wooden barracks that they don't have anymore. But it wasn't that rough, really. MacDill Air Base in Tampa. We were training to run post exchanges. I was only there like 3 or 4 months, then we shipped out. And that's what I did in Korea.
What did you think when you found out you were getting shipped to Korea then?
There's really nothing I could do about it, tell you the truth. I was kind of mad because not really because I passed up the Army, because I knew either that or I wouldn't make it in the Army. So, in a way, it wasn't. In fact, I liked the duty overseas better than in stateside. I went over in July of 1952. In fact, that's when our ship left California. And I was there after the truce was signed, and that was early August. I was in 53. First of all, we went to Japan. We left San Francisco to Yokohama, and we traveled in Japan. I even went through Hiroshima. and we weren't allowed to look out the windows on the train, but I did anyway. And it was almost as flat as this floor. And that was 7 years later, after the bombing. There was nobody around.
There was a blinding flash, then a deafening explosion. In an instant, Hiroshima was a scene of unprecedented chaos. Hiroshima was instantly transfigured. There was nothing left but ruins, nothing standing to hinder a full view of the city.
And then we stayed there about a week, and then we flew from there to Korea, to my air base. And that was near Busan in Korea. I was there winter of '52, Christmas of '52. Then they opened a new base, and we flew up there in '53. And that was near Seoul.
There was still fighting ahead, but at this time it appeared that the Korean War was, as General MacArthur phrased it, definitely coming to an end.
Well, my job was fairly easy, except that we were busy, and I got to meet all the flyers that way. I was really surprised. We had young kids that just come out of flight training school. They were so naive and so innocent. Young 21s, 22 years getting killed. We lost quite a few of them. Some were captured. That's why today I still don't like the Russian people, because they had some of us in prison camps, and we never got them back.
So with that type of job, you probably had a lot of interaction with a lot of different
Oh,
guys.
yeah, all the young pilots, they were like brothers to me. It was like we get up around 6 or 7, and we worked 6 days out of the 7. Well, I did, yeah, because I had the best job at the PX. And my sergeant that was in charge of us, he was from Chicago, so we all got to be buddies, so I had an easy job. Had one kid there, though, that was stealing, and he got caught. He went to prison. Yeah, he was stealing cigarettes and throwing them over the fence to the Koreans. He got caught. The CID, it's a criminal investigation in the Army, caught him. But he was a nice kid, just got carried away. But we had the inventory every day after we were done. And that mean they made you check it out, especially if that guy was stealing. Oh man, they came down on us bad. Yeah, he done time. I felt sorry for him, but it happens. They were poor. I don't know how they survived. Being pushed around, I mean, they were clear down, the North Korean Army was clear as far south as Busan. They almost took it over. Then we pushed them back. Then they pushed us back. And so people were just walking the roads. You would see them walking the roads. They would carry human waste on they were called honey buckets, but they had human waste in them. They would use that for fertilizer. And you'd see them carrying them. They would hang way up, big buckets with human waste in.
Now begins a tragic homecoming for the thousands who had fled the city only 3 months before.
You'd look at these people, scratching through the ashes of what used to be their homes, and wonder where they got the guts to go on. Still, I guess we'd do the same back home if it came to that.
They'd do anything for you. Yes, they would. That kid that we had on our house boy, he'd go to town, get you stuff that you couldn't find on base. And that's how I had that one jacket made. The lady in town made it for us. There were prisoners of war. China and even Russia had some.
Lose anybody that you were close to?
Mm-hmm. He got run over by a truck on our base. He worked in the mail room, and they had great big mail bags, and he slipped when he was carrying them out, and the dually wheels got him. No, I only ever had a gun a couple times. Basic training, and then when we went on our well, we called it inventory run for supplies. We had to carry our rifles. And then I had a little 45 too that we took. We had a driver and 2 other guys counting me on the trucks. Yeah, we were armed because we had some valuable stuff, and you never know who was gonna be there. That was the only really scary part of what was going on. We had a party because there were about 10 of us left at the same time. And we got on a plane to Japan, and then we left from Japan on a ship out of Yokohama. Went under the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah, that was quite a... Then we all got mad because there was nobody there to see us. I don't know why. The war was over. We were on the first ships back. And then the Red Cross met us, handed out donuts and coffee. My brother and her worked together at Burson Knitting, and they had a bowling team there was bowling alleys in the Faust Hotel. And I was there with my girlfriend. And I met this girl bowling, and my brother knew her. I said, "Give me her phone number." I called her. We went out, and that was it. Got married 3 months later. Married 60 years. It was kind of hard at first because I didn't know whether I wanted to go back to work at National Lock or not. I didn't know what to do. I almost re-enlisted. Back then, the re-enlistment pay was $10,000. That was a lot of money in the 50s. You could live the whole damn year on that much money. But I didn't. I went back to work at National Lock and worked almost 30 years there after I got out.
Paul Hubley was such an amazing vet to do this documentary on. Watching his interview and going through his story and going through the Korean War, I learned a lot about the Korean War as I went through this, but also I learned more of how hard it was for some of the soldiers. And Paul Hubley talking about his hard times was a struggle. It was hard to not see him smile like when he had his humor, when going throughout this documentary, when he told all the good stories and all that stuff. But the one thing that I will always admire is his courage and his strength to go through it, because he taught me that there are going to be tough times and you need to be strong, but then also that there are good times and good things are coming, that I need to hold on to those good memories and be strong through the hard ones. And I am just honored to be able to do this documentary for him and tell his story.